Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. My voice is slightly getting better than
I
the.
hear that.
I was like, gosh dang, like of course this is the timing that my I start losing my voice. But I got my tea and my ice water, so I should be good.
Also, yeah, it always happens that way, huh?
I know, seriously.
Well, if
But
there's
we'll push
anything,
through it.
right, if there's anything I can do or hop in or anything, just let me know.
Could you just give the whole presentation for me?
If I knew it, I would. Awesome. Let's see. I think we are live, everybody. So welcome, everybody. Good morning. We'll give everybody a few more minutes to hop on. How's everybody doing today?
Lucy, nice to kind of meet you. First time talking yesterday. I see you on here.
Awesome. Everybody's doing good. Good, good, good. Let me make sure this is live in the group. Everybody, if y'all want to just let us know in the chat where y'all are joining us from, we would love to hear.
Any other Idahoans on the call right now? Michelle, yes. It's rare I talk to people from Idaho.
Really?
Oh my gosh, so rare. Especially where I'm from, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's a small little resort town in like northern Idaho. So rare
Uh-huh.
that like anyone does anything like this up here.
That's funny.
Victoria, Blackfoot, Idaho. Yes. Awesome.
Well, hey, some people there could be a good market there then if there's not that many
Yeah.
bookkeepers.
Yeah, seriously. I just my neighbor has a bookkeeping business and I was just teaching him local. He wanted to do it local. And
Yeah.
there's like nobody here doing that. So it's going pretty good for him. But yeah.
Awesome. Good deal. All right, everybody. Well, we can go ahead and get started. It for those of you who don't know, this is Cameron Montgomery. He is an expert in marketing for accountants and bookkeepers. So we are super excited to have him on here today. He's been on several times in the past, so all that's on our YouTube channel, podcast, if you want to go back and listen to any of that. But super excited to hear what he has to say today about content creation. So I'll let you have it, Cameron.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Megan. Thank you everyone for being here. If you can't notice, if you haven't heard me before, I'm kind of losing my voice. So of course, the timing of these things is I wake up at night, my voice is kind of going. So I got my tea, my ice water. This will be the most casual, informal presentation because I might be gargling ice water, which will be the first for me in a setting like this. So we'll get through it together. So anyways, yeah, super excited to talk about content. What if any of you have either been through my program or been to one of my past trainings? What you'll know is I like to keep things very straightforward, very to the point. I do not like fluff, right? So this is not going to be one of those trainings that are like all surface level, not really telling you what to do. We're going to get down into it, into the nitty gritty. So if you got paper and pen, take notes on this, because my goal is that you truly understand content. And so content, I mean, the reason I wanted to talk about content is because in the bookkeeping and accounting world, this is one of the biggest struggles out there, right? It's just like, how do I make bookkeeping interesting? What do I say? Does anyone care about this? I don't feel creative. That's why I got into bookkeeping. I like the numbers and I feel like an introvert. So, what I am going to talk about is the simplicity behind content, and that you don't have to be creative, and that you don't have to be an extrovert, and that you can just focus on really simple marketing and it works really well, right? So that being said, I'm going to share my screen. See if I can get the right one. Okay, can everybody see this? Okay, I'm gonna stay like this because I'm gonna be jumping around, so I'm not gonna go into like slideshow mode. But first thing, let's just start with a quick background on me. I started my business in 2019. My background actually is not in bookkeeping or accounting; it's all 100% in marketing. And so that's what I got my degree in, got my had my career in that. And when I started my business, I knew I wanted to niche down. And so I thought, well, who typically struggles with marketing, right? And bookkeepers and accountants typically do. Just like I struggle with bookkeeping and accounting, it's not how my mind works. Found that a lot of bookkeepers and accountants struggle with the marketing side of things. So decided to make that my niche. Ever since then, that's all the only types of business owners I work with are bookkeepers, accountants, and tax pros, right? Up to this point, in the last 5 or so years, I've worked with probably around 540 firms in like a one-on-one setting. So it's been an amazing experience. I've learned a lot about the industry, and it's been a great ride so far. So what we're going to be talking about is everything I have learned in that time. Everything I'll be teaching today is based off of my business and where my success comes from. Everything I teach is not on concepts or theory. It's on what do I personally do in my business, right? So let's talk about what we are going to be covering. Main thing is we're going to talk about 4 content foundations that have to be in place to have success with content. 3 mindset pillars about content, and then I'm going to give you some content examples. So I do want to say that there is so much I can talk about on content. I will not be able to cover everything today. What I'll be focusing on is beginner content. I'm guessing most of the people here are beginners in it. So we'll be focusing on beginner content. I do teach on advanced as well, like advanced content strategy. We might touch on that a little bit. But most of it is what do you do in like when you have zero experience and you're in the start of everything, right? So that being said, I'm going to get my first gargle in because my voice is going. So hold on one second. I'm not going to gargle. I changed my mind. I'm not going to do that on this. So okay. So let's talk about content foundations. Um, what a lot of people struggle with content is they go straight to producing content, right? Straight to like, what do I say? How do I say it? And they don't have any kind of foundations in place, or maybe they pay somebody to create content for them or buy some like pre-made content. Um, and then they post it out there and it's like it's not working. Like, does social media marketing even work? Right. So as I go through these 4 content foundations, I want you to think of the structure behind it and the logic behind it. Me personally, I'm a very foundational marketer. I do not like creativity in marketing. There's aspects of it, but I just don't really like it personally. And I don't like extravagant, complex content or marketing, right? So as I go through these 4 foundations, just like peel back the complexity you feel that market content has to be and just look at like the simplicity of this. Okay. So content foundation 1, and this is the absolute most important, is you need to get clear on who are you marketing to, right? Like this is the most important part. Most people go into creating content, they don't even know who their target market is. And if you just kind of think of it logically, how can you create content when you don't have a target market? Like, how are we going to know what to say? Because a construction business owner, their needs and struggles with cash flow are very different than a law firm, right? Or an insurance agency or a um, like assisted living business, right? So first and foremost, before you do anything, before you even think about creating content, you need to know who are you creating this content for, right? So in doing that, there's really 2 types of target markets that I recommend that work great with Facebook marketing. Number 1 is either local. Number 2 is niche. I used to be like really hard on niching. If anyone's been connected with me for a while, I was like would die on that hill, right? But I did have some clients I want to do local, and it actually worked really, really, really good. So local marketing works great. If you're going to do local, you want to stay generalized, right? So the reason for that, there's not enough of one niche in a local market to support your long-term marketing, right? So if you're doing local, like what you're tying people in with, what you're hooking people in with is that, hey, I'm the local bookkeeper, right? If you want to go niche, you need to go national, right? So that's so you can fill up an audience full of specific types of business owners in a niche industry, right? So I know that this is one of the absolute biggest struggles that bookkeepers have is choosing a niche or choosing a target market. This could be an entire training of itself. It is in my program. It's like where we always start. So it's okay. Just know it's okay if you're struggling. Everybody struggles with it. I struggled with it when I in the beginning, right? But it is important. You do need to figure that out before you start into your content, before you start into your marketing, right? So when we are deciding who we're going to market to, we either do local, generalized, or niche national. Niche national. That's just niche 1.0, right? Or target market 1.0, which is okay, is it a niche? What is the industry? Or is it a local market? 2.0, you also need to know this before you start marketing is, well, who's your ideal client within that target market, right? So if you are marketing to people like me, online coaches, well, who's your ideal client? Because the way you market to somebody who's in the startup mode is very different than how you market to somebody who's seven figures, right? If you're talking about clarity, compliance, payroll, if anyone does taxes, tax planning, cash flow analysis, forecasting, whatever it is, if I'm making 100,000, my pains, fears, needs, desires, the things you would market to me about, very, very different than if I'm making 1 million, right? So take some time. You do not need to rush through this. Because it is so important. This will dictate what you do for your content, right? You need to know who are you marketing to, who is your target market 1.0. That's where you start. And then who is your ideal client within that? That's your target market 2.0, right? So that is foundation number one. If you do not have that and you're trying to create content, you just need to stop. If you're just saying like, hey, it's small businesses on a national basis, don't do that. If you do, you can do that on a local basis, but if you want national, don't say small business, don't say service based, right? That is like local, not national marketing, right? Okay, that's foundation number one. And if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I'm gonna get through all this and then we'll answer the questions. I'm assuming there's probably questions about a target market. But we'll get to it once I get through everything. So that is content foundation number one. Number two, let me get some tea, see if this helps. Number two is now that you know who you're marketing to, you need to know what are you going to market to them about, right? And this is what covers that struggle of like, well, what am I going to say today? How do I make bookkeeping interesting to people, right? Because but if you're not a bookkeeper, honestly, bookkeeping is pretty boring. Like I'm not a bookkeeper, and if I didn't niche with bookkeepers, I would have zero interest in it, right? Along with me and every other business owner. And so when that's the truth, like what do you say? And the thing is when you're figuring out what you're going to market to your target market about, you do not make it about you or your business, right? I don't want to sound harsh, but like nobody cares if they're a stranger. Like they don't care about it. What they do care about is what are their pains, their fears, their needs, their desires, and their opportunities around bookkeeping. What is living in their head? What is keeping them up at night? What are their struggles? Right. So when you see my content, I'm not saying, hey, I'm Cameron and I can help you with your marketing. Like reach out today. I'm not saying those kind of things. I'm just saying, hey, are you struggling with marketing? Do you struggle with content creation? Right? Does the feeling of needing to be creative stress you out? And see how that pokes at, I bet that pokes at many of your pain points you're having right now. You're like, ah, yeah, it does stress me out, right? That had nothing to do with me. That just had something to do with the fear that my target market has, right? So to do this, in my program, it used to be like this big action item. You had to do this market research. Well, ChatGPT is absolutely amazing, and we can leverage ChatGPT to do so much work for us. So what I'm gonna do is give you an example of this. I have it preloaded, but we can just ask ChatGPT, and I'll give this prompt to everybody at the end of this. I can copy paste it in the chat to give us the pains, fears, needs, desires of our target market, so that we know that like what the topics are that we're gonna be talking about, right? So I just made this up right here. You would have to have this fit your business, right? So what I'm saying is I would like you to act as a Facebook content creator for my bookkeeping business. I'm offering bookkeeping services and my niche is insurance agencies. My ideal client is insurance in the insurance industry. Our agency is 500 to 1.5 million. So niche 1.0, niche 2.0. Okay. So I need Chat GPT needs to learn that, right? So now I'm saying, can you please give me a list of the top pains, fears, needs, desires, opportunities that my ideal client has with, and you'll have to edit this. I just threw a bunch of stuff in here. Cash flow, compliance, financial clarity, insurance, staffing, cost, all associated with bookkeeping, right? Could be if you're doing construction, you're gonna be talking about like material, you're gonna be talking about job costing, you're gonna be talking about seasonal slowdowns, like just make it about your niche, about like the topics. And then also, I like to add that please make these all very specific to the insurance industry using their language and lingo, right? So for everybody that's struggling with like, what do I say? Like, what topics do I post about? First, once you know who you're marketing to, you just can work with ChatGPT now and give it a prompt like this. And what it'll do from here is just start giving us all the topics that we're going to post about, right? So these are going to be, we're not going to go through all of them, but those are the top pain points. I think it gives us like 8 or something. The top fears, the top needs, the top desires, and it's going to go to the opportunities, right? So in the past, you would have to do market research for this, which is time consuming, and nobody likes market research, right? Now we can just use ChatGPT, and this is a starting point of what we're going to market to our target market about, right? With that being said, as time goes on and you have more calls and clients with your target market, you're going to learn like what are the main things they talk about, right? Which some of these, it might not be some of these, like what do they care about? So for me, I talk about things like a simple process, a systematic process. I talk about choosing a niche. I talk about not having multiple platforms. I know the specific things my target market cares about. And that's just because I've been doing it for a while, but this is your starting point, right? So at this point, these first two foundations, before you ever even think about creating a single piece of content, is you now know who you're marketing to and what you're marketing to them about. What I encourage all of you to do if you are if you're relying on someone else to create your content without you being involved in it, don't do that. Right? Work with them. If you have someone creating content, like work with them to have them help you with it, but you don't want to rely, or if they give you something, like you need to know who and what you're marketing to so you can edit what they give you, right? Or you can work with them, say, hey, this is specifically who I'm marketing to. Here's the things I want to talk to them about. Here's the pain points, the fears, the needs, the desires they have. Just don't blindly make content, and don't blindly take content, because how can and nobody's going to know what they need to say if you don't even know who you're marketing to and what you're going to market to them about, right? So make sure you remember the logic, right? We're not relying on creativity. We're just relying on logic. Who are we marketing to? What are we marketing to them about? Okay. Time for some more tea. Hold on.
And Cameron, I'll just throw in, like you talking about having somebody else do it. I know, like from my experience over the 6 years I've been in business, when I let somebody take over, I can definitely see a difference in the engagement and stuff on the post versus when I did it and it was actually my voice. People knew my personality was coming from it and all that versus some random person and I'm just copy and pasting a post that means nothing to them. It doesn't feel as relatable to your ideal people.
Exactly. And because when that person was doing it for you, like all they're doing is they're providing a service, which is content creation, right?
Right.
They don't know your target market. They don't like, if they have 20 clients, they all have different target markets. They're not like a super genius that knows all these pains, needs, fears, desires of what to say. They're just taking like blanket content, right? And
Exactly.
so it's hard. You got to wrap your mind around it that a lot of people are like, well, my clients don't like bookkeeping, so they outsource it to me and I do the bookkeeping, right? But the thing is, bookkeeping is pretty universal, right? Like there's differences in niches and clients, but you can do that because it's pretty universal where marketing is extremely specific, not only to like the target market, but like you were just saying, Megan, to you, like, especially if you're doing Facebook marketing, like this is personal marketing, personal branding, right? And
Yep.
so there's just no way it's not the same as like me paying for my accountant, right? Like I can do that and they just do the same thing every single time. They have their system, their workflow, their process. It's not the same thing. You can't just go pay for even if it's an ads agency, a content creator, like you even if you do pay someone to do it, like you have to work with them on that. You need to help them create that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, great point on that. Hold on one second. It does help the garden. Okay. So those are the first two foundations. Foundation number three, now that we know who we're marketing to and we know what we're marketing to them about, is we need to get positioned to our target market, right? So what positioning is when all of you go to my profile, it's very clear that I help bookkeepers, accountants, and tax pros with social media marketing, right? So I have positioned myself as the heart surgeon to your heart problem, right? You need to do that for your target market and your services, right? So if you're doing, like the example I was given, insurance agencies, it needs to be clear that you are helping insurance agencies with bookkeeping, right? Before you ever do content. The reason for that is that if you're not positioned, or if you're generally positioned and it's not clear that you help them, when you like, let's imagine I'm not positioned and I do something that creates a lead, creates someone who's interested, and they go like, well, let me go look at Cameron. If there's no positioning, that's not gonna like capture them. They're not gonna feel great and trust around that. But if I do something, and whether it's a conversation, a piece of content, or whatever it is, and someone's like, "Oh, interesting. Like I am struggling with content," and then they go check out my profile, then they see, "Oh, Cameron helps people like me. He specializes in people like me with marketing and content creation, right?" So it is crucial to have that your positioning set to build that trust and build that authority and to capture the leads that you're producing, right? So where we get positioned is on Facebook in the beginning, if you're brand new, is going to be a personal profile and a business page. Down the road, we can have a Facebook group, but that's more advanced. Like that's like down the road. You first got to have some momentum before you build your own Facebook group. Um, so on Facebook, it is a personal profile and a business page. Now, all of the magic is going to happen on the personal profile, not the business page, right? I know a lot of you are like, what personal profile? Like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to show you some options here in a minute. But the reason for that is that there's a few reasons why you don't want to focus on a business page. Number one is it's really hard to grow a following or organically. And if you don't have a following, no one's going to see your content, right? Like if it's just like 200 people, then most of them are friends and family. Nobody's seeing your content. You're just posting it to nobody. And so that's not the first reason. The second reason is people are not on Facebook to see what businesses are saying. They are on Facebook to see what are people saying, right? So when people see a post of mine that's got my business name in it, there it's immediately before they see anything like Cameron's selling to me, right? Which I am, but it's a difference of when it's coming from Cameron or when it's coming from my business or when it's coming from Montgomery bookkeeping. They're gonna be like, this is just trying to sell me bookkeeping. And that's not why people are on Facebook, right? They're on Facebook to connect with the people they know and see what are people doing. So let me show you an example of using my profile of what positioning is. Very simple. You get this done in like 20 minutes. Use Canva. There's templates. You want simplicity, right? But when you go, it's my personal profile. When you go to my personal profile, you see it's very clear who I help and what I help them with, right? I help bookkeepers, accountants, and tax pros with simplified social media marketing. So when anybody goes here, they see that I'm the heart surgeon to their heart problem, right? Same thing with my business page, same exact thing, right? I'm just wanting them to see that I specialize in helping them. So for you, you need to get positioned to your target market to say bookkeeping for plumbers, bookkeeping for law firms, bookkeeping for whatever it is, right? Before you do lead generation, right? Now, I know a lot of you are like, yeah, but my kids are on my personal. I'm not going to connect with a bunch of strangers and have them see my kids, right? Totally understandable. So there are a few options. This option, Facebook has not rolled this option out to everybody yet, but most people have it, right? So if you click up here and you hit see all profiles, I already have two additional, so it's not going to let me, but I can create a new profile so that I have multiple profiles on Facebook, multiple personal profiles, right? You don't want to make multiple accounts. Facebook could shut you down for that. But under this one account, you can make multiple profiles so that you have one that is personal and the other that is strictly for business and they do not cross over, right? So that way you can freely market. Your friends and family will not see your content, vice versa. Your business connections will not see your friends and family, right? So that is probably the best way to do it for the people who do not have access to this because Facebook just slowly rolls things out. If you don't want people to see your content, like let's say like you have a personal profile, you can't make another additional profile, but you still want to do this. Basically, all you got to do is you go to friends and you're going to go to custom lists, right? And these are all these examples, but you create a custom list and call it like friends and family. And then you go and you add people on, and then you just have to add all your friends and family, right? So say these aren't my friends and family, but you would add everyone on there, right? So now I've made a custom list that all my friends and family are on there. And then from there, when I post, I set my post to, I'm going to post to my friends except my friends and family, right? The people who are on that friends and family list. So click here and make sure that my friends and family are on there so that when I start connecting and building my audience with business owners in my target market and I make a post, I will post to my friends, which are my new connections, my business connections, except the people on my friends and family list so that they won't see that content. Vice versa, if I want to still do a personal post, I do it to the friends and family list, right? So, I mean, you probably have some questions on that, but that's just how you can keep it separate because I know it's a struggle point to use a personal profile, right? So back to our foundations. We at this point, but we haven't even created a piece of content yet. But at this point, we are clear on who we're marketing to. Our target market 1.0, 2.0, right? We have that direction now. We are also clear on, well, what are we going to market to them about? We utilize ChatGPT and we got specific on what are their pains, their fears, their needs, their desires. Those are the topics we create content about. Now that we know who and what we're marketing about, we then get positioned to our target market. So when they see us, they see that we specialize in helping them, right? Now, the last foundation we need to have set to have any kind of content success is you need to be growing your audience every single day, right? If you are not growing your audience with business owners in your target market, nobody in your target market will see your content, right? I've talked to many, many people. Like, I've been posting and nothing's happening. It doesn't work like that. It's not like you post to the void and then Facebook has this magic algorithm that like gets in front of the exact people because of the topic or the hashtags. Like, that's not how this works. It is there you grow, like it's very structural, very foundational, right? The people who see my content are my friends, right? So I'm going to take this out of professional mode. So my 4,600 friends, these are all bookkeeping and accounting business owners, right? So just think of the structure behind it. Of this, all these foundations. Who am I marketing to? Bookkeepers, accountants, tax pros. What am I marketing to them about? The topics are their pains, fears, needs, desires that they have with marketing. I am positioned to them to say, hey, I specialize in helping you in this area that I know you struggle with. And then I have thousands of them in one place that will actually see my content, right? I have more audiences than this, but this is just like this is where you start. And the reason you start on your personal is because it's the fastest place to grow an audience, right? Down the road, you can have a group, right? I have a bigger audience here over in a group, but that takes time and momentum, right? So you do not want to start there. Where you start is going to be your personal profile, right? So you got to know how do you find and how many do you add per day of these business owners. So just everyone think of if you do have an ideal client, if you do have a target market, imagine if you could snap your fingers and you had 4,600 of them right here, right on your friends list. Those are the people who will see your content. And not only, I want everyone to think of this a little differently. Not only is that how you're going to grow your business initially and with your content, but think of the insulation that this gives me, right? So no matter what's happening, if it is a good economy or a bad economy, I can market to thousands of people in my specific target market 100% for free, right? So that is extremely, as I'm providing for my family, that is extremely relieving to have that I don't have to pay every single month. I don't have to wonder where are these people. I have thousands of them, right? And then as you grow, you have thousands of them in multiple places, right? So no matter how bad things get in the economy, I can market to this niche who was strategically chosen because I know they struggle with this and I can get in front of thousands for free and I can leverage these thousands in different ways, right? So I say that because I always use myself as an example rather than concepts. Like you need to do this for your business and for your target market, and you need to have these marketing assets that you can market to for free. No matter what's happening in the world, you can market for free. You don't have to rely on anybody else. You don't have to pay anybody else, right? You keep overhead low, profit high. So that is the fourth foundation is we need to grow this audience. Okay. So some of you probably came on thinking I have more to talk about, but thinking I was probably just gonna like give you like, hey, this is how you create content. Um, I don't do that when I teach content because this is more important than the content. You can have lousy content, but with all of this is way better than somebody who is really good at creating content, but they don't even know who their target market is. They don't know what like their pains, fears, needs, desires are. They're not positioned to them, and they don't have an audience. It doesn't matter how good your live is. It doesn't matter how good your posts are. It does not matter. It won't work. Right. So you got to understand this. This is what makes content work. I'm going to show you in a minute what I mean by that. Okay, so I'm going to zip through the next part because I want to show you some examples. Basically, at this point, before you create any content, you got to know who you're marketing to, what you're marketing to them about, be positioned to them, and you got to have a growing market or audience. Before I show you the content, let's talk about mindset around content. I'm gonna go through this because I don't want to run out of time before we answer questions. Mindset is just as Megan knows, the mindset expert over here. Mindset is just as important as the technical side of things. Like, and after 5 years, I thoroughly believe that in business. Like, it is just as important. And so when you're moving into content, you gotta have the right mindset. There's tons of things you can talk about in mindset, but these are like three of my favorite ones. Number one is focus on simplicity and strategy, not complexity and creativity. Okay. Simplicity, that is key. You want it to be simple, foundational, structural, and strategic. And I'm going to show you some examples of that. Next one is the perfect post does not exist. I know so many of you struggle with this and that you just like, it take like an hour to make a post and it's just not right. It's not saying all the right things. I have had so many freaking typos in my content. Like, I'm not saying typos are good. It doesn't slow me down at all. I've literally had typos where I'm telling people not to work with me, and that post got like 3 clients because people thought it was funny. And so like it does not exist. It does not matter. We are taking imperfect steps forward, imperfect actions forward. All that matters is, are you being strategic and are you being consistent, right? And bookkeeping, 2 plus 2 does have to equal 4, right? Otherwise, you're probably not a great bookkeeper if it doesn't equal 4. In marketing, it's okay if 2 plus 2 equals banana, right? It doesn't matter. And then tomorrow it's going to equal 87. But Thursday at 2 o'clock, it equaled 4 for this specific person. And now you have a call booked with them, right? So it does not need to be perfect. Last pillar is that you need to focus on the long run. Your mindset in marketing should always have like a moving 6 month horizon. When you start creating content, there is no magic bullet. There is nothing that is going to you just start creating it, all of a sudden people start flooding in. Just think of like logically, if you have to be building an audience, and when you're starting, you don't have an audience. Like nobody, like you're building that up. So focus on the long run. You like content is not immediate. If you have a large audience, yes, you can make it immediate if you've already done that. But if not, you got to be putting these actions in because you're building momentum, right? Your audience gets bigger and bigger and bigger. People see you again and again and again. You got to start creating interest and demand for what you're offering. Okay. Okay, so let's look at some content. Like I said, before you create content, make sure you have all of this in place, that you have your foundations. You know who you're marketing to, you know what you're marketing to them about, your position to them, and you are growing your audience every single day, Monday through Friday. Your mindset needs to be set. You got to have a good mindset around this, that you need to um, focus on simplicity and strategy. You need to know that the perfect post doesn't exist. You just need to be strategic and consistent. And you need to focus on long run momentum, not short run gains. We get short run wins. You're building an empire, and we're getting little treasures along the way, right? But it's going to be down the road with this content. Okay, so let's look at some of my content. Usually I use me as an example, and right now my content isn't the best example. It's kind of all over the place because I'm in a fortunate place where I'm trying to slow things down a little bit. So I'm going to scroll pretty far back to show you some examples of this. So I got all kinds of content. A lot of this is like what I teach in my advanced program. When you see like the longer posts, the videos, the shout outs, none of that is random. It is very like purposeful, like what I'm saying, why I'm saying it, what I'm setting myself up for. So we're not, I'll tell you like what is advanced, where if you're new, you like this, you don't need to be doing anything like that. Um, and hey, shout out February at Megan and Sherry. But what you want to be focused on is the simple stuff. And I'm just going to show you how it works and why it's working. Okay. Almost there. Okay. So look at the simplicity of these posts and how they are not creative. Not this one. It's gonna be the next one down. They are not creative. They're simply strategic, right? So starting January 30th, and I'll give you like five examples. All I said is word of mouth, a reliable lead generation source on its own, right? The most uncreative post you could possibly have, right? But the reason it got all this engagement is because it was strategic. I know that my target market is relying on that, and they don't like to rely on that, and it stresses them out because you don't have control over it, right? Word of mouth is great, but you don't have control over it. So if I have 4,600 of them in one place, I don't have to be creative and complex. I need to be simple and strategic, right? So just a simple post about a pain or a fear that they have, right? This is what you need to do for your bookkeeping business. Another example. This one was just more for engagement. I just knew people would respond to it. So that's not quite an example, but sometimes I like to do ones that are just for engagement. But even that being said, look at 82 comments. I didn't have to do this took me 5 seconds, right? And so to get all this engagement, people are like, okay, who's Cameron? Why has he got 82 comments on there? Right. That's why I did, so I could get exposure to people, right? Scrolling past some of these. I had a challenge, so we gotta get past those. Okay, so are you actively growing your audience with business owners in your target market? If not, why not? So what I want you to notice is this one didn't really get any traction. I'm 5 years into this. I have a ton of success from content, but I still don't get any traction on a lot of posts. That's fine, right? Your engagement can be a liar. Where if I looked at this as like, this post didn't really work, but I know this post got in front of a lot of people. And I know a lot of them are not actively growing their audience of business owners in their target market. And I know the reason is they don't know how to, right? So I'm doing that just to poke at a pain, poke at a fear, poke at a desire. Notice how these make you feel as I'm showing, if you're struggling with content, how they make you feel. And for me to do that, it's just these quick little sentences. That's beginner content. Another example, just keep your lead gen simple, systematic, stay consistent. The clients will come, right? That's a desire. People are like, that sounds nice. I wish I had that. Like simple, systematic, consistent. Like, why is my marketing not feeling like that? Right? It's poking at a desire that they have. Stop wasting so much time figuring out how to generate leads on multiple social media platforms. Choose one and stick to it to a simple daily lead gen process. Poking at a pain and a desire, right? Like, I'm over on LinkedIn, nothing's happening over there. Over on Instagram, nothing's happening over there. I just want a simple process, right? Couple more. So those are just kind of poking, and then you get some like this that actually generates some leads. So when I say, why does the thought of marketing stress you out? Again, a sentence. Every single person that responded is telling me, Cameron, this is why marketing stresses me out. This is why I'm struggling with marketing. Those are leads for me because I help with marketing, right? So if you said something like, why does bookkeeping stress you out? And people say why, that's a lead. You can help them with this, right? For me to produce all these leads, I did not have to be creative. I did not have to be complex. I just had to be consistent with my foundations in marketing, growing my audience, and consistently getting in front of people. That is why this is working, right? One more example. Um, the hardest part about getting more bookkeeping/accounting clients is everyone, like, and as I'm sure you all know by now, everyone who answered that is a lead. They're telling me this is what I'm struggling with my marketing, right? And the reason, again, I know I'm hammering this, but the reason for that is because I have an audience. I know what they care about. I know what they struggle with, and I just need to poke at them again and again and again, right? And then you get things like Christina, sorry to put you on the spotlight if you are on this call, but Christina said exposure to my ideal clients for my niche market. You all have the answer to that now, right? That was a very common pain point. Everyone knows how to do that. I don't know what Christina's niche market is, but to get exposure to them is not by posting into the void, it's simply by adding them as friends. Then that is what gives you exposure to them, right? So those are some examples, and that is what you need to do for your business, your target market. That just start with the beginner stuff, focus on the long run. There absolutely is more advanced forms of content. Advanced forms of content that I focus on is like a farming harvesting cycle, where in your mind you don't want to be thinking every single post is going to produce leads. Because like think of farming, if I plant a bunch of seeds, I don't turn around tomorrow and be like, where's my harvest, right? Like I have to be planting my seeds, which are the people in my friends list, farming them. Like 95% of my content is farming them, and then just a little bit each month I am harvesting the interest that I have created for my farming content, right? So we don't have time to get into all that, but that's just like there 100% are more advanced things. But if you're new to marketing, this is where you start. You set your foundations, you grow your audience, and you nurture them with simple content that is specific about their pains, their fears, their needs, their desires, right? Okay. So, got a little bit of time for questions if there are any. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was informational. Yeah, let's open it up to any kind of questions, or Megan, if you want to run it
That
any
was,
way you want.
yeah, no, that was great. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. One said, how many personal and business profiles can you make on top of your main Facebook account? I already have a business profile for another business. Can I create another one? Any information will be helpful.
Yeah, so the business pages, I don't know if there's a limit to that, but the personal profiles, Facebook let me do three of them. So for me, I just have three different niches that my main one and the only one I monetize and make money off of is bookkeepers and accountants. But my other two are two different niches that I'm just building in the background. So when I want to expand my business, I'll have a launching pad, right? And so for everyone out there, you could have like one profile as your, if you have three, I think it maxes out at two additional profiles. But say if you do have that option, one could be your personal, the other could be your local marketing, the other could be niche marketing, right? And so you have a lot of options with it. Just don't do all of them at once, right? I've been doing this for a long time, so that's why I have those resources. Um, but some people don't have, like, they can't do any extra ones. Some people have one extra one, right? And so you just got to look at, you go to where I showed you to click, and you just got to look at what is Facebook going to let me do. And then you got to just work with whatever Facebook's giving you.
Awesome. And then how do you grow the audience?
Yeah, so the way you grow your audience is you send friend requests. So you send 40 per day to that. I mean, this could be a whole training, but it's just brick by brick. If you're new, it's going to be kind of a slow start. Think of it like this. This is the best way to think about it. When you go to like BNI or in-person networking, it is a slow start to build your network. But that's all we're doing online is we're just building our network, right? It's online networking. And so when you go to BNI, you go there and be like, oh my gosh, this sucks. I don't know anybody. I'm just gonna sit over here and eat food and like hope like nobody looks at me, right? But then the second time you go, you're like, oh, I just met someone. I just met Sherry, right? Hey Sherry. I just met Sherry and okay, she was really nice. Okay, this next time I go, I'm gonna find Sherry. And then oh, Sherry just introduced me to Linda, right? And so your network starts going. The only problem is it's really slow. Like that was 3 months of what I just said of like monthly meetings, right? So what we're doing on Facebook is the same thing. We are growing our network with business owners in a target market. So when I'm sending friend requests to, I'm sure a lot of people on this call have gotten my friend request. We have mutual friends, which are other business owners in the bookkeeping and accounting industry. So I'm growing my network. Right now, my immediate network is 4,600 on my personal. But it's bigger than that with the other connections I've made. And so you need to send friend requests to business owners in your target market. Now, I want to clarify something. It's going to be in your target market 1.0, not target market 2.0. Target market 2.0, where your ideal client, there's no way to know how much people are making. So we add, like, so for me, I have my ideal client within bookkeeping, accounting, and tax pros. I don't know that. So I add 1.0, and it's my job as a marketer for my business to find and attract 2.0, target market 2.0, right? But yeah, that's how you do it.
Awesome. I think that was all the questions I see in the chat. Does anybody else have any questions? If y'all need to unmute or anything, feel free to do that or drop them in the chat. This was great though, Cameron.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, any questions, don't be bashful. Any kind of questions, whether it's like basic stuff, anything that we talked about, anything at all. This is the time. I'm an open book. I will answer your question.
Everybody's kind of quiet today.
I was gonna say, who's again? It always takes one to go, and then the avalanche starts
Right.
happening. Um, Lucy, we just met yesterday. I'm gonna pick on you. How's content creation for you?
Um, that's a good question because I know what's important to me as a bookkeeper, so I'm assuming that it's important to business owners. I don't always know that I'm hitting the mark on that.
Such a good point. So this is a very good lesson that we can talk about right now. Two sides to that. So with content creation, remember that's why it was in the presentation. Always make it about the target market, right? Because you're right, like to you, like you are the professional in bookkeeping, right? And so like you know what needs to happen, right? That's not necessarily what your prospects are thinking. Like for example, you know that okay, this prospect needs a 8 month cleanup, right? Most people that get on a call with you don't know cleanups exist. They like that's a really normal thing to bookkeepers. For everyone else, they just think they're going to sign up. They have no idea there's going to be like a $4,000, $5,000 cleanup attached to this, right? And so you just got to be thinking like, how do you cater to them? How do you cater to what they're thinking, their mindset? Because when you're creating content, that is what attracts them, is what is in their head, like what is their struggles and their needs, their desires, their opportunities, right? Um, so that's the first part of it about it. The second half is, and this is especially when you get into advanced organic marketing, you really want to focus on the topics that people want, not necessarily what they need. Usually, what people need is really boring, right? But that what they want, that's going to attract them. So, for example, what got everybody here is like, hey, who wants to create wants to learn how to create content? That's what everybody wants, but where did we start with what you need, the foundations, right? So your content, your post is what people want to get them in. Your services is what they need, right? That's why this presentation mostly was on like, yeah, I know you want content creation, but this is what you need. You need to do this first before you even think about content. So really get comfortable and utilize ChatGPT. It makes life so much easier. It is such an amazing tool. But really get yourself in the mindset of like who, like what do they want? Not what is my knowledge? Not what do I know they need? What do they want? What are they thinking about? Right? Does that make sense, Lucy? Follow-up question for you is, do you have a target market?
Um, yes, but I'm kind of struggling with it. I my niche that I picked is the dental industry,
Yeah,
private practices, but I'm not sure if that's a viable target.
it
So,
is. It is one. So
okay,
you have that target market. So do you have your like ideal client within that target market?
just the smaller private dental practices.
Okay, got it. So I would say like a good action item for you, go to ChatGPT and explain who your target market is and ask like what are the pains, fears, needs, desires of that size of dental practice. And then you're starting off with your foundations, you know who you want to work with, you know what you want to or who you want to work with, who you're going to market to, then you know what is important to them, right? Nothing to do with you. It's just like what is important to them. And those are the first two foundations. Are you positioned to them on Facebook?
I haven't, I've concentrated more on LinkedIn than Facebook because I didn't know how to use Facebook. Because I know my audience right now is just my friends and they don't need my services, or, hopefully they can refer me to
Okay.
somebody that needs my
Yeah,
services. But
exactly. So this is a whole nother training too on like which social media platform to use. I use Facebook not because I like it. I don't care which one I use. I just want to use what is the most effective one. But the principles apply the same on LinkedIn is grow your audience, nurture them with content. It just works better on Facebook because people spend more time on Facebook, right? So just make sure that you have your first two foundations, get positioned on Facebook, and then you got to grow your audience. And then you can even use ChatGPT, like once it has all those pains, fears, needs, desires, say, write me 50 short form posts about it. And there's your content. Right. And so that is just where you want to start with it. But it's good that you have those some of those foundations set because that like now you know who and what you're going to create content about.
I do have one quick question. Is it better to have just text or some kind of image or
Yeah, good
something
question.
with
Good
it?
question. Um, Both. So in my beginner organic, it's just text. Just like the ones I showed you, just text. It's just simple, just poke, 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 right? Those get way more engagement than anything with my videos, anything with my anything I actually try on. Like the simple little post gets way more engagement because it's simple, it's fast, right? Um, but when you want to elevate, when you want to go to the next level, is when you do images, don't do graphic design. I don't recommend. I mean, I did graphic design to promote this, but when you're marketing, just do pictures of you, your family. The reason for that is that you want to do what is native on Facebook, what is natural on Facebook. Um, think of LinkedIn. The reason nobody spends time on LinkedIn is it's really boring with a bunch of graphic design business posts. That is why nobody spends time on LinkedIn, which is also why it's not good to market on because nobody spends time on it. Facebook, you want to do what's normal, like do pictures of you, pictures of here, let me show you. Rather than explain it, I'll show you. So graphic design, yes, is promoting something, so do it then. But when you do long form posts, just like picture me and my wife, right? Just like people are much more interested in this. It's like, oh, I'm getting to know Cameron. He has a beautiful wife, right? And so, like people are much more like interested in this than they are if I had like this graphic design, like buy now, like all these things. They're like, ah, Cameron's just trying to sell me, right? And but what I attach onto that is value. Like, and this is longer form content's a whole nother thing. I'm trying to teach in this, right? Another example is like this one right here is it's just me and my family. We had a little weekend vacation. That's normal on Facebook, right? And so people just start to see like Cameron's a normal guy. He's not trying to be like this guru that's like creating all this stuff, and I don't have to put the time into creating it. But what I'm doing is I am teaching on here, right? And that is long form content. So I wouldn't recommend doing it right away, Lucy. You're brand new. So because here's the thing too, you don't have an audience, so you don't want to put all this time and effort into something that's not really going to be seen because you have to build that audience, right? So just get used to like build that consistency muscle and get used to just getting content in front of people every single day. And then as you learn like what's more important, what am I going to expand upon, then we move into the advanced content strategy, which I wish I had more time on. It's like my favorite thing to talk about. Like it's the whole farming, harvesting, um, but yeah, down the road you do want to.
Thank you.
Yep. Um, okay. Any other questions or how are we doing on time? Do we got a time limit today?
No, I'm good if you're good, but we do
I'm
have
good.
some.
Okay.
Okay, also we do have some questions in the chat. Let's see. Somebody asked if there was any handouts for today.
Um, I guess one, I'll put that prompt. I didn't think I didn't think of that. I'll put that prompt into the chat right now. You
Okay,
will.
that's perfect. And y'all, it will be available for replay. It's live on Facebook, so y'all can catch the replay there and also on YouTube and all of the things. So you can go back and rewatch it, take notes if you did not get to get all the notes in because it was tons of great information.
I just put that in the chat. Just everyone know you're gonna have to edit that to make sense for your business, your target market, and what you're doing. Um, and also I didn't really mention this was like the most simple surface way to use ChatGPT. There's a lot more you can use ChatGPT for. If everyone hasn't, I highly recommend spending like an hour with it, educating ChatGPT on your business and you and your goals because it will affect everything it does, right? But that's just that simple prompt there. So
Yep, awesome. Yeah, we love ChatGPT. Let's see. Melissa said, "Do you send a message with friend requests? I personally don't like getting friend requests from random people or businesses and tend to ignore them."
yeah, so I do not. Okay, so let's get into a whole nother thing. So think of like marketing when you're a beginner, you're growing your audience, you're posting content, that will take time. While you're waiting for that to take time, your options are you either just do that and you wait for it to take time, but if you want clients right now, you do need to send DMs, right? So cold DMs are not enjoyable. I don't enjoy it, right? For everyone I sent a cold DM to that's watching this, I didn't take joy in that, right? But but cold DMs are it's a numbers game. It's very effective. I have gotten hundreds of clients from it. My clients have gotten hundreds of clients from it. Very effective, and it's just startup marketing. If you are in the startup zone of marketing, you got to do startup marketing, or you can just wait for your audience to grow and for it to take hold, but that will take time, right? And so, when you add people, it's not with it. You gotta wait till they connect and then you send a DM. You gotta learn. This is all another training too, but like you gotta learn how to have that conversation. That we are absolutely not trying to persuade anybody. We're not trying to sell anybody. We are not pushing through objections and DMs. That is why people hate them. I've gotten them too, where I just look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, stop, you know. And it's more so you just have this really, really quick conversation to find who needs help right now, right this second. It's crazy how accurate this number is, only comes out to about 3% of people. Um, and it's just the people that are sitting at their desk right now, like, oh my gosh, my books are a mess. And then they get a DM from you, right? So like 97% of people aren't going to answer. They're going to say no, thank you. They're going to ghost you in the middle of the conversation. Totally fine. Just let them go because they are in your audience. They see your content and they will come to you when they are ready, right? So to answer that, like that's a whole lead generation strategy. That's like a lever you pull. It's not something you just do. It's like for me, that's a lever that I can get clients from. I can book usually 2 to 3 calls a week from cold DMs, but I'm not pulling that lever because I'm pulling other levers right now. Right. I don't need it's like a tool in my back pocket that I just don't need. I pull out if I need it. Um, Also, you said you usually don't connect to people that you don't know. Many people don't. It's probably going to be anywhere from like a 20 to 30% acceptance rate from it. So it's okay. Most people don't. You're just looking for the people that do. And they do. Like for me, those 4,600, which I've had like you top out at 5,000 friends. I should have like 8,000, but I've had to like unfriend people just to make room for new people. I don't know any of them, right? And so, but I'm connected to them. They accepted my friend request, right? So I hope that answers your question.
Yep. And then how do you find business owners to friend request if they're not listed on their business page?
So that one, yeah, it's not on the business page. There's multiple ways, and this is probably like the big. Okay, so growing your audience is the most important part to Facebook marketing. When I'm working with people, it's probably what we spend the most time on. And so there's not really a fast question for this, but there's multiple ways. One is in groups, right, that are made for the business owners in that target market, that they're just gonna be full in that group. There's other search features. There's a way you can kind of prime and teach the suggested friends to teach you or to bring them to you. Um, a variety of different ways, but you want to think of it as when you're starting out, it's going to feel like this plane that's like kind of struggling to take off, just like BNI, right? Like, oh, I know two people, I know three people, like, oh, I just met like four people. Well, eventually your network all of a sudden just takes off, right? And you're just surrounded by business owners in your target market, and they're not hard to find anymore. So the short answer without like thoroughly going through is like one is groups. Don't market in the groups. I recommend everyone don't market in groups. Not that you can't get clients that way, like you can, but focus on your audience, growing and nurturing your audience, not someone else's. But we do use groups as one of the ways to find them, search functions, and then suggested friends.
Awesome. And then when people engage on your post, do you respond to everyone's post? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
when they engage on your post, 100%, 100%, even if they're engaging, they're not a lead. The reason for that is that ups your comment count. And that is what triggers Facebook to show to more people, right? Or Facebook's like, oh, they're being social on this. People like this post. I'm going to show this to more people. So any post, because sometimes you'll just get like a thumbs up, just do a thumbs up back, right? And so and you do got to learn like what is a lead, what is a potential lead, what is someone just engaging with you. And then you just kind of like systemize your conversation for each of those. Like when there's a potential lead, like how do you have that conversation to bring it to the DMs? What do you say in the DMs to get them to get on a call, right? Because you don't just say like, hey, like, do you need help? Like there's things you do. So if I say something like, for example, if I have a post that says, are you struggling with content? And Megan says yes, then I'd say, oh, hey, can I send you a DM on this? You say yes. I say, great, sending now. So you've seen me do that. The reason I'm doing that is to up my comment count. So more people, it gets shown to more people, and people just like to be asked permission, right? So that has got me now in the DM conversation where so there's three parts. So I started the conversation. Now I need to find the pain, right? So it's like, hey, so you said you're struggling with content. Like, what's your struggle with content? They tell me whatever it is. And then I'm gonna say, oh, is this something you like to do on your own, or do you want to get help? They say, I want to get help. And then I propose a call, right? What people do, the mistake is they go straight to it. They send a DM and say, hey, do you want to get on a call? Well, they never told you they want to get on a call. So you need to get them to say, I want to get on a call before you propose a call, right? You need to get them to say, this is my pain. I want help. I would like to get on a call. And then you say, okay, or I said they have to, so backstep. You have to get them to uncover pain before you propose a call, right? So get them to say, this is my pain. I want help. And then you say, well, hey, I can help you with this. Would you like to get on a call? Right. I don't know how I got on that rabbit hole, but I forget what the question was.
Yeah, no, that was great. I think the only other question we had was about niching down and how do you decide on that. We, I think we kind of answered it in there that you have it in your program. We have some training on in our program from you on niching down and stuff as well. I don't know if there's any way, like that you want to let them know to find you is just finding you on Facebook and sending you a message. Will that be the best way if they're interested in your
Yeah.
program?
Yep. So real quick on that, I mean, there's criteria points that you want to take your time on a niche, right? Don't just like choose one just because you have to be strategic about it, right? One of the criteria points is you do need to be aligned with them and you do need to want to work with them. But there's four other ones that are completely just like strategic business criteria points. I That's a whole training in itself, but basically you want to be very strategic about it. So if anyone has any questions that did not get answered, number one in the chat, I'm gonna put my website, so you can check out some information there.
Perfect.
Number two is find me on Facebook. Oops. I'm on all of them, all the platforms, but Facebook is my main one. Um, which I'll actually give you my profile link as well. Okay, this should work. So send a friend request there. Um, And yeah, if anyone has any questions that did not get answered, feel free to reach out, ask them. If you do need help, I'm almost at capacity. You've probably seen it. I'm ready to sell right now. I only have 2 spots left. It's a 25% off sale. So if you're at a point where like, okay, I'm ready to do this, let's rock and roll. Awesome. If not, totally fine. We'd love to just be connected with you and I give free trainings out all the time in there. So yeah, if there's no other questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and being a part of this. Megan, thank you for putting this on. I hope
Yeah,
it was
no.
informational. I hope it was helpful. Yeah, it was fun. And my voice made it through, kind of.
Yes, yay. Yeah, no, we really appreciate it. This was great. Tons of great information. And as always, we appreciate you coming and sharing and giving us information. So, if anybody needs anything if y'all have a question, if you watching live on Facebook or anything, feel free to comment. If we see it, we'll tag Cameron if there's a question that's asked there that we need to get answered that y'all didn't get answered. And if y'all need anything, let us know as well. And y'all know how to reach out to Cameron. And thank you so much, Cameron. You have an awesome day and hope you feel better.
Yes, yes, me as well. Thank you, and good seeing everybody. And yeah, we'll chat soon.
All right, bye.